Hey kids, welcome to a Glen YAPS episode. Um, Today we're going to talk about the issue with the band The Guess Who. I'm just going to turn this camera just a little bit. I've been a fan of The Guess Who since I was a kid. And love their music. Being I'm Canadian, that music was on our airwaves constantly when I was a kid. The band broke up. There's no secret that this band does not get along. It's well documented. The issue came about what the band had broken up. The drummer formed his own touring band called the Guess Who, performing the hits of the Guess Who. I think the original bass player was part of that for a while. Whereas Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings went their own way, started their own bands. So Guess Who fans said, well, that's it, they're done, but we're still going to enjoy the music. So the drummer, Gary, has toured for decades under the Guess Who name, which from what I understand he owns. He owns the name, or rights to the name, along with the bass player, I believe. Anyways, they've toured for decades. There hasn't been a squeak from Burton Cummings or Randy Bachman on him touring with different musicians playing Guess Who songs ever that I know of, until recently, where Burton Cummings just kind of went total angry grandfather and filed a $20 million lawsuit against the band. So, being a musician myself and growing up with my favorite bands, I've always voiced my opinion about those original bands touring without original members. It's always been a quirky area for me. I mean, if I grew up, I want to see all the original members because they contributed to that sound. The Guess Who, they would have their odd reunion, and quite frankly, I didn't like the reunions. For whatever reason, they just didn't sound as good as the original Guess Who, even with original members. They lost it. They hadn't been doing it in so long. I think they forgot what they really had. And secondly, they've done so many side projects or solo stuff that their new identities kind of bled into the old Guess Who music. So from my standpoint, where this lawsuit comes in, that it sounds like they're it sounds like what they're saying is they're defacing the original Guess Who, but honestly, I don't find the reunions of Burton Cummings and the band sound like the originals either. It's like, are you saying you're better musicians? Well, maybe, but if you're only doing a reunion show like once every 15 years or whatever, and this band is keeping the music alive for an entire 4 months, 5 months of summer concerts, summer, fall, spring concerts, I don't know if that's a problem or not. You're getting the royalties off this music. So, but my thing is a selfish point of view, as in I like to see all the original members, but that's kind of the deal. I want the original band to be playing all along. It's just my selfish greed. The band I grew up with, I want to see them being playing without stopping, nonstop. You know, it's just one of those deals. The sporadic reunion things, I don't know. They just I've been disappointed in pretty much most of them. Like there's bands like Asia for one. Asia, the membership changed constantly, and then they would get the original lineup back together. King Crimson, another one. Anyways, this lawsuit. I just heard just yesterday that the court thing got finalized, but the whole deal was that Burton Cummings and Randy did not want this band touring under the Guess Who title, even though they don't own the Guess Who name. Anyways, they stopped this band from playing, even though the original drummer still plays in the band, and the original bass player has some ties to that secondary band. Now, here's where my problem lies. Burton and Randy were okay with this band for decades. For decades. That's the key part. Irrelevant to what we all think otherwise, they okayed it. They were okay with it. So I think it actually pushes 3 decades. But the present lineup, present singers, I think has been with them 20 years. Now, they have also put albums out under the Guess Who name. Again, being one original member. Lots of bands have done this. Fans may like it. Fans may hate it. Me, like I say, I've got caught in the middle of an issue with this Guess Who thing, because I'll tell you why. That seems to be different than, like, say, the Asia thing or King Crimson. What Burton Cummings has done is, well, this band has been touring, and they just put out an album, and the album's really good. It may not sound like the Guess Who of old, but neither does the music of Randy and Burton that they're doing. They are going back to the Guess Who sound. So I don't see the problem there. If everybody's going to do their own thing, that's why bands break up. They want to do their own thing. So why can't this drummer carry on with a band under that name, as long as they're putting out material and doing their own thing? And some people say, well, they should change the name, but they are paying tribute to the Guess Who's music. I'm in the same boat. It's a very touchy thing. But here's the deal. The Burton Cummings Randy thing. They started playing Dirty Pool. They basically would wait to an hour before this drummer's version of the Guess Who. They would wait till an hour before and then have lawyers basically pull the plug on this band playing, because Burton and Randy own the publishing on the music that they play, because they wrote the songs. And to me, I think that is wrong. Like, you've already got this court case going. While it's being battled in the courts, everybody still continues on until the final judge's word of what's going down. So apparently Burton Cummings had shows canceled on this band. I've heard rumors up to 4 shows an hour before showtime. So what does that do? Screws the band out of money, and screws the audience. I just don't believe in that. These guys have played for decades, and now all of a sudden it's pissing you off. And I just don't think that's right. Like, if you were okay with it before and you're not okay with it now, and the band doesn't suck, they're really good, and people love the band. You can go on their website. People love that version of the Guess Who. They're playing the Guess Who songs like they were, paying homage to them, and doing their own stuff that they created on 2 or 3 albums of original stuff. So it's a real mess. But I can foresee this problem building in other bands. And I think greed is a big part of it, but with them knocking off this Guess Who band that the drummer has, I mean, they're killing their own royalties for whatever reason. And the stupid part is, Burton and Randy don't want to tour as a Guess Who anyways. So they just want to let that band just fade away and just let the Classics radio station just, play their library and call it a day. And I don't think they understand that there's actually a younger audience that is that gravitates to their music. A whole new generation, and is basically wanting to hear the music. And if these two bozos don't want to tour under the Guess Who name, then why not let somebody else do it? I mean, the Beatles have done it. The Beatles finished in '70. The Beatles tributes everywhere. Normal people know it's not the real band. It's about the music. So, for me, like say the case of Foreigner, it's not Foreigner. We understand that. But one of the guys in Foreigner's managing how this cover band is. They're basically cover bands. That's what they are. So I think what Burton might have a problem with is it's called the Guess Who, and it's not called Tribute to the Guess Who. Well, that would have been an easy fix, but he let it go for 30 years. Like, that's the part of this that bothers me the most. You let it go for 30 years, and now all of a sudden you care. When you're what? In your late 70s? 80s? Early 80s? So now the band is screwed. They finance these albums, they finance videos themselves, and you might say, well, okay, well, they finance it by using the Guess Who's name, to make money for it. But I keep going back to, they didn't have a problem. Randy and Burton didn't have a problem for 30 years. They don't want to tour under the Guess Who name except for these odd reunion tours. So if you don't have a problem with it, why is it a problem now? Apparently it comes down to some advertisement on one of the page where they use the likeness of the old band. Well, the Guess Who went through stages. Here's the deal. Burton Cummings is not the original singer of the Guess Who. He may have wrote all those hits, but he was not the original singer of the Guess Who. So there's another area. So all of a sudden, the guy that's not the original singer of the Guess Who now has all the power. So just because he's got publishing rights on these songs. And that's what you want. Publishing rights gives you the final say. That's why I would always tell my friends, including myself, we write our own songs, get everything in your name. Otherwise, I mean, you go through turmoil down the road, especially if you're a band that doesn't want to stay together. Anyways, so that's where I am. I'm on the fence with this, but I feel for this band because, I mean, they've put up the money to travel to the venues. They're the ticket people. They got it all going. Then they go an hour before showtime. They got a sound crew, everything. It's everything. And then all of a sudden, nope, Burton says you can't do it. Lawyers shuts it down. That's happened, I think, 4 times from what the reports are. I don't agree with that. Not at all. If you're filing a court, going through the courts, let the court do their job, but don't be a dick. And Burton obviously is being a dick. It's sad because I love the Guess Who. I've been in bands that I was in a 60s band just in the last few years that paid tribute to a lot of bands of the 60s, including the Guess Who. Now, any cover band has to worry about Burton Cummings coming over the fence and start yelling at you and pointing the finger. You can't do my songs. You don't sound like the Guess Who. You're not. Is that the way it's going to be now? You've seen tons of interviews with Burton and Randy talking about when they grew up and the people that they loved, their music heroes, and they played their songs. Right? So here we are, Randy and Burton playing cover songs from other people. Did those artists come after Burton and Randy for playing their songs? I've been playing in the bars for 40-something years. I've never had an artist come up to me and say, you can't play my song. The cover band thing, in my opinion, was always the beacon for advertising this music. So there's tons of songs I heard in a bar that a band was playing that I never heard on radio that I loved. We knew these bands were cover bands. The audiences aren't stupid. And you hear this song, it's like, wow, what is that song? I've never heard of it before. And you love this song. And you search out who this artist was that originally played it. And you add it to your collection. In some cases, the bar band played it better than the original. So I'm very disappointed in the way this turned out with Burton Cummings and Randy. The Guess Who legacy, I guess they're trying to protect it, but really they just alienated a ton of fans. Because these two boobs aren't playing under the Guess Who title, don't want to. The whole band, they fight constantly. They don't like each other. So they're just going to let the audience go, suffer. And that's what happens. The band, that touring band that the drummer has of the Guess Who is now suffering. So they're changing their name. All their stuff that they've had for 30 years on websites and stuff has to change now because Burton's not happy. So I don't agree with the way it went down with that particular band. In the case of Foreigner's still opening for headliners like Styx and all this other tours that are going on this summer. No original members. Mick Jones is behind it and people are enjoying the shows. It's not Foreigner. I know it's not Foreigner. Fans of Foreigner know it's not Foreigner. But it's keeping it alive. I may not agree with it, but it's being done to keep that legacy alive. That part I understand. Some members pass away, like Rush. You can't have... you could continue on with Rush with a different drummer. That Neil Peart died a few years ago. Some fans would not accept it, and Neil Peart wasn't the original drummer. The two drummers in Rush, the original and Neil, have passed, John Rutsey and Neil Peart. So could they tour again in the Rush? Yeah, they could. Rush was an entity before Neil Peart. Even put out one album and toured. So us fans may not like it. You know, we like that comfortable feeling of what we love. But it's their prerogative, really. So I don't know. I think my main issue is how Burton screwed this band over by shutting these shows down an hour before showtime. That I don't agree with. That's just being a dick. And now the band is going to suffer from it, even though the drummer owns the name. So here's the deal. So does the drummer change the band name to Tribute to the Guess Who? Will that make Burton and Randy happy? Because it doesn't matter how many ways you slice it, whether they do the music of the Guess Who individually or that, it's not the Guess Who. So, but being that he's a publisher of these songs, he can do them in a solo act, which he does. Yeah, so it's really stinky. It's just, and look at this. Leonard Skinner, there's a prime example. Part of the band died in a plane crash. The singer's brother got the band going to keep the music alive with some of the original members. I don't think there's any original members left. Might be one left. So, kept the music alive. You know what? The fans just wanted to hear the music live. Were they as good as the original? Probably not. But it did have some of the original members. I don't know. Very disappointed, though. So, I think my biggest peeve is I like the Guess Who's new album with the new lineup, or not new lineup. The lineup's been with them for 20 years. I like the new album. I don't want it to sound like the old Guess Who. I'd like to see bands evolve, right? So obviously they put their own stamp on it. It's still a fun album. Done really well. The videos are really done well. Lighthearted. And it grabs onto a younger audience. Burton cutting off their shows, I think that's a dick move. Being a dick. Where it goes from here, who knows? But I'm sure that band is, after just putting out an album, they're probably going to, if Burton actually won the lawsuit of $20 million, the band's definitely, going to be bankrupt, because they're never going to get $20 million out of it. So, Grouchy Grandpa got his way in this. And I've seen Burton Cummings live myself years ago, many years ago, when he had the album Stand Tall, or the song Stand Tall was a big hit. And it didn't sound like the Guess Who either. Even though he did some of the songs, it just didn't sound like the Guess Who. So, I'm just, if he thinks that band is not up to the same caliber, they're generating a lot of fans, so, and keeping the music alive. So is Burton going to go after all these tribute acts that play Guess Who music? I guess he will. Because we're all started off as cover bands for the most part, and I've played his music too. So I'm waiting for a call from Burton to tell me to stop playing Burton Cummings songs or Guess Who songs in my cover band. So, anyways, thanks for watching. You can definitely post what you think. I'm probably in the wrong here, but I just feel for the band that's getting crucified now, and the audiences that got screwed over on those 4 concerts. I don't think that's the right way to do it. Anyways, thanks for watching.